Hello, happy Monday. Hope you guys are all doing well, staying warm. I don't know where you are, but it's cold here. We are
Yeah,
sub-zero, and it's, to put it nicely, that's as nice as I can say it.
yeah, it's cold
Um,
here too.
I'm sorry for the short notice on the time change. I forgot today is inauguration day, and I wasn't going to try to compete with that. So it is what it is. And so I thought, we'll just bump it back a little bit so that we can get this wrapped up before all the activities start, whatever. I do have one little, I don't know what it is. It's a little update for Carmen because she hasn't been around much lately. She's been sick. Her and Cheyenne both have had the actual flu. Um, both had tested positive for flu A. Don't know. I don't know anything about it. But as in typical Carmen fashion with what Carmen does, she ended up getting really, really sick and went back to work. I was talking to her first day back to work, and she was getting winded just like walking to her car. And her job requires her sometimes to walk a lot, and so we weren't exactly sure how that was going to go. It didn't go well. Um, they actually ended up. They thought the doctors at work actually thought she was having a heart attack or a stroke because she couldn't breathe. Her blood pressure was really high. She gave me her numbers. Her oxygen was 92. Her sitting heart rate was 170 to 192 sitting. And her blood pressure was 200 over 140. So they called the ambulance. They came, got her, gave her some nitroglycerin tablets. Uh, they're trying to take her to the ambulance. She's covering her face because the flashing lights give her a seizure. So they're
Oh,
like
jeez.
they're yelling like, turn the lights off. Um, she gets to the hospital. They, do everything. She had been to the doctor the day before, and she had told her that her lungs were getting a little crackly. So she kind of needed to move around some um, so that pneumonia wouldn't set in. But not overdo it. So there's like this fine line of moving around and overdoing it. But she was just so out of breath. It's crazy. But that's what caused kind of everything to happen, is because the lining of her lungs was so inflamed and her body just went into fight or flight mode, and it was fighting against itself basically. So she has been told she can have zero stress. Zero stress in her life. I don't know how you accomplish that, but one of the things that she has done is she has stepped back away from Discord and YouTube and anything that she even thinks might kind of cause her a little bit of stress. So that's why on her Discord it says do not disturb. So if you've messaged her privately and she hasn't answered, she probably won't. She just wanted me to kind of give an update of why she's not been around. Won't be back around until she gets the A-OK from her doctor that she's not going to have a heart attack or a stroke, because I don't need her to do that.
Yeah,
So
me
um,
either.
she said, she said that her doctor reminded her of he's really a doctor, but he's an actor. He's in the on The Hangover. Like the guy's like, but did you die? That guy.
Uh,
She said, like, he reminded her of him and was kind of had that attitude about him. Like he was kind of joking. I mean, he obviously he'd be serious about things when he had to be, but he was joking, and he told her, um, he said, "I know it's not funny or to be joked about when somebody's body goes into fight or flight, but your body was ready to whoop some ass. Sorry about the shot. Had to calm it down." So,
oh
uh,
man.
but yeah, so she's just saying, and she was worried that people might think that her and I had some issue. We do not. So I was like, I hadn't heard that. If you heard that, then
I have not heard
Yeah,
that.
nobody thinks that.
I said, I don't know why anybody would think that because that's not happening. Her and I are just fine. She just needs to get better. And so,
That's just a case of people being dumb and deciding trying to be trolls.
yeah.
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 So that's why, she's basically unplugged from everything right now.
And as she should.
Yeah. She
Because
told me
everybody needs breaks too,
absolutely.
It's
100%. Yep. And so that's what's
she doesn't need
happening
to
with
worry
her.
about any of this shenanigans.
Exactly. And yeah, and because she was like, if I saw you getting stressed, I'm like, I'm not stressed. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not stressed about anything. We're having fun. And what else are you gonna do? So um there's that. So if you like I said, I know people have messaged her and she feels bad, but she's not even looking at anything. So she's not ignoring you, but she's kind of ignoring you. I don't know how else to say it.
She's just not that into you.
Yeah. I don't know. She'll reappear when she's ready. And hopefully that's sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
so we're going to get back to Miss Jolly Jane. We have her court transcript, which we read Friday. We read. Holy cow! I think my mouth wants to say aforesaid. I think that's really where it's trying to go.
Oh yeah.
I was making my bed yesterday, and I'm like aforesaid, aforesaid. Like
I saw people writing that in Discord yesterday. I felt so bad. I can't respond, but I would do.
I think that was Puddletown about the bacon.
Yes.
That was funny.
Oh, that's funny. So there are no aforesaids today that I have not seen any, at least when I was going through the testimony yesterday to get it so we could read it and you guys could see it. Did not see one aforesaid. Hey, Christine. Saw that your birthday stream went really well. Congratulations. Hope you had a great birthday weekend. And it looked like you had a lot of fun. So let me put this up here. So today we have the first witness. So if you were not here for any of the Jolly Jane story yet, she was a nurse in Massachusetts. This is around 1900 that this all took place. This trial took place in June of 1901, I believe. And she liked to give things to people that made them pass away or get close to passing away, and then she would bring them back. And once that ended and she got fired from being a nurse, she went to be a private nurse where she actually took out whole families and quickly. So this transcript that Gabby found is the actual court transcript from 1901. So the wording in it is very different in some places. That's why there was a lot of aforesaid. But this is the trial of Massachusetts versus Jolly Jane Toppan, and of her unaliving of Mary D. Gibbs. And this first witness here is Beulah Jacobs. To me, she's Southern. I'm going to read her part. Gabby's going to read Mr. Swift. So, if I read Beulah Jacobs in a Southern accent, it's because I don't have a natural Boston accent like Gabby does. So she'll read it in the actual voice it should be read in, and then I'll read it in my accent. So Jolly Jane wasn't super jolly, and she wasn't super nice, and she liked to also climb in bed with people when they were on the brink of passing away, and
Yeah, very odd, very strange, weird.
yeah, touch and do things you shouldn't do.
Yeah, definitely. Don't do this at home, kids.
Yes,
Type of thing.
don't do any of this. So I think, whoops, I thought if I made that any bigger, we wouldn't be able to see it. So are you good with?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Swift.
All right, right.
You are on.
What is your full name?
Beulah A. Jacobs.
Beulah A. Jacobs.
Yes, sir.
Where do you live, Mrs. Jacobs?
I would say this is Somerville. You probably are like Somerville.
Somerville.
Somerville. Summer. I don't know.
Are you related in any way to Miss Mary D. Gibbs, deceased?
She is my cousin, once removed.
I feel like that's like a joke or something.
Like we
that
didn't
I've
like
heard.
her. We removed her once and then we put her back.
Yeah. Did you visit her at her house last summer in August?
I did. Hang on, let me scroll up.
What date did you arrive there?
I was down several times, but the last time I arrived, the Saturday afternoon before she died, the 10th, I think.
Saturday, August 10th?
I don't know whether it was the 10th. It was the Saturday before.
Do you remember the day that she died?
Yes, sir.
Bye, Miss America. Sorry. On Tuesday?
That's my answer. What?
Oh,
you
sorry.
have to ask me the question.
What day was it?
On Tuesday.
Okay. And what condition of health did you find her when you first got there?
I thought she was about the same as usual.
Was that good health or bad health?
Well, not sick. I think she was feeling badly overall that had happened, but I didn't consider her sick.
Her father had died recently.
He was buried that day that I went.
Wow, what a coincidence. Well, dang. You were there at the funeral?
Yes, sir.
Was there anything that matter with her physically that you could discover?
I know some of this wording is so weird. I don't think there was anything. No, sir.
Did you see her Sunday?
Yes, sir.
3 bags full. Sorry. There's so many things happening in my brain right now. What was her condition then?
The same as usual.
That is the same as it was the day before?
As I could see it, yes, sir.
Were you with her Monday?
Yes, sir. We all went to ride.
And what time Monday did you go ride?
We started somewheres between 9 and 1:30. I should say, I don't know, just the time.
Somewheres. Who were in the party? Now yes, I want to read a Southern accent.
No, because it's written like you just should.
Yeah.
It's Dave's fault.
Mr. Harry Gordon, Miss Toppan, and little Genevieve Gordon, Mrs. Gibbs, and myself.
5?
Yes, sir.
How old was Genevieve?
She will be 8 this September.
Can you tell where you went to ride?
Yes, sir. We went over to North Falmouth, right?
Falmouth.
And they had some business over there. Then we went to Silver Beach, where we frolicked and played while the men sat and sipped on their urine and talked math equations. And from there...
All right.
Sorry, I had to throw some Chloe Driver in there. And from there, they drove down to McGansett,
Yeah,
West Falmouth,
Falmouth.
and then we came back to Catamount.
How far would that be in all?
I really wanted her to say, "Do not ask me hard math questions, sir." I was frolicking on the beach. I don't know how many miles that is. I don't know the distance.
Aforesaid.
Aforesaid.
10 or 12 miles?
I don't know myself how far it is.
You wouldn't care to say?
I don't know the distance.
How long did it take you?
Oh my gosh. Dear Lord, take an answer. I think we got back somewheres around 1 o'clock or about there. I don't know just the time exactly.
I think Mr. Swift expects you to pull out a map and measure.
You should know I can't do that.
Can you tell us the sort of weather it was that day?
It was cloudy when we started, and it rained just as they got down to McGansett, down to West, whatever, Falmouth.
Falmouth.
Sort of a drizzling rain.
Weather cold or warm?
Goodness heavens. So was it snowing? Cool, if anything.
Was the wind blowing north or east or west or south?
I don't know. I did not put my finger up to test it.
Tell us what took place so far as Miss Gibbs and you and the defendant were concerned after you arrived home from the ride.
This lady after my own heart. I went to bed. I went to sleep. And when I got up, I asked where Miss Toppan was. And she had gone to, why did they have to keep going there? Falmouth, whatever. And Mrs. Gibbs and Mr. Gordon were reading a magazine.
Now, what time was that, Miss Jacobs?
It was somewheres around 4 o'clock. I don't know just the time.
Somewheres.
When you woke up?
When I woke up, I think I slept something like 2 hours.
Miss Gordon and Miss Gibbs were where?
They were in what they called, it was in the front room, what they used for a sitting room, and little Genevieve was there. We three together.
Now, in which house was this?
In the
In the Jackin.
Jackin?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Remember we looked that up?
Or Jack
That was the hotel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the house called the Yakin? What I'm calling it.
Yes, sir.
Which is the name?
Of the hotel.
Oh, that was you. No. Okay, I'm getting confused with the colors. I have to make sure I stay with red.
Yes, you're red.
Okay. Of the cottage, the summer place?
Yes, sir.
How many lived there at the time?
How many in the family do you mean?
How many were staying at the house when you were there?
Do you want their names or how many?
How many? I ask you first.
Well, how about this? I can tell you the names and you can count them. There was Mr. Denham and Mrs. McFarland, Harry Gordon, and Paul and Jessie Gibbs, and the two boys, and little Genevieve Gordon, and Miss Toppan, and myself.
You say when you woke up, Miss Gibbs and Harry. What?
He didn't count them.
No, he didn't. I'm sure he's going to ask you again, though, soon, so be prepared for that. You say when you woke up, Miss Gibbs and Harry Gordon were reading somewhere?
They were not reading then when I first came out. Harry was writing a letter in his room.
Whoops. In which room was that?
He was in his own room, in the annex to the room where he was writing.
Scott's room in the annex to his room. It doesn't even make any sense.
But afterwards, we were all together out in this little sitting room.
And Miss Toppan wasn't there?
She had gone to Falmouth.
Falmouth. She'd gone to
Mrs. Gibbs said.
Oh, you mustn't tell what was said. You had been informed she wasn't there?
No, sir.
No, sir. When did you see her next?
When she returned from Falmouth.
When she returned from Falmouth. Just gonna get angrier and angrier. And how long did you say it took to get there?
I don't know.
Did she herself say that she had returned from Falmouth?
Well, she had things she brought from Falmouth.
That's me.
So I suppose she came from there.
You're reading Mr. Swift.
Oh, whoopsies.
That's okay. You can keep going.
Oh, well, there was
Flash
no
fan,
answer.
you wanna be this other guy, the guy in green right here?
Yeah, sure. Isn't that leading?
Perhaps it is. I do not intend to lead. Did she say anything?
I love it. It's like, objection, nothing from the judge.
That's
Sorry,
yeah,
didn't mean
like,
to.
Like, isn't that leading? Oh, yeah, Bethel was all right. My bad.
He's like, yes, perhaps. I don't know whether she did or not. She came right from the train.
Did you see what she had with her?
She had some bundles. She showed us some of the things she bought.
What did she show you?
She showed us, some
Ooh.
Hunyadi water, a piece of rubber sheeting, and she gave Mrs. Gibbs a bundle, which she said was borax.
In what form was the Hunyadi water?
I think she bought half a dozen bottles for Mr. Gordon.
You saw the Hunyadi water?
I saw the bottles, yes, sir, the package.
Was anyone with her when she returned?
No, sir.
Did you know whether anyone went with her to Falmouth?
I didn't know then.
You did not know it yourself? Did you hear her at the time or shortly after she returned say anything to Mrs. Gibbs?
Yes, sir.
2 bags full. 2 bundles full.
2 bundles and some Hunyadi.
Hunyadi. Will you tell us what you heard?
She said that she met Dr. Watson at Falmouth, and she was very glad that she saw him because...
I wish you would say that again, Miss Jacobs, and talk a little bit louder.
She said she met Dr. Watson on the street in Falmouth. She was very glad she saw him because she wanted to ask him about Mrs. Gibbs. And she didn't like to go there without Mrs. Gibbs sent her. And I looked and looked and looked at that line, and that is exactly what the transcript says.
I know.
And
some of them just don't make sense.
They don't make sense. And so she suggested that when she go to bed at night, as she wasn't sleeping very well, she take some whiskey. And she said that she told Dr. Watson, and he suggested it would be much better if she would beat an egg up in it. Ew.
What?
Whiskey's bad enough, and then you're... And also suggested that she had better take some Hunyadi water. Or Hunyadi, I don't know.
Do I understand you to say that she asked that Dr. Watson said this?
Yes, sir.
To take the Hunyadi water?
Yes, sir.
Anything further?
Oh, Lord.
I have to say that word.
there was a douche pail that she wanted to cleanse.
Where's Puddletown when you need him?
And she had gotten this borax to cleanse it with. I think she said that Dr. Watson said that would be as good as anything. She said she could get some at the grocery store, but it would not be as pure as what was at the druggist. And she got it at the druggist.
That is the borax?
Yes, sir. What is borax?
I'm pretty sure isn't. Well, I'm pretty
it's
sure
like laundry
borax is like
detergent.
a cleaning. That's a cleaning stuff.
Yeah. Why would you have to get it from the druggist?
Yeah, isn't that like a Lysol of some sort?
Yeah, something like that. But it's like powdered form.
Yeah. All right.
That was subsequent to that talk, or at the time. Did you see Miss Gibbs do anything in regard to the Hunani water or box of borax?
No. I saw her and go ask Miss Toppan how much she should use, and she told her how much.
What was that? The borax?
That was the borax to clean it. I saw Mrs. Gibbs go off into the little side room with the douche pail, but I do not know what she did with it.
Oh, good Lord.
And afterwards, she gave her some Hunyadi water.
Now,
oh, man.
Now, won't you tell that Miss Toppan said or did at that time?
Miss Toppan said she was to take it at night and morning for 2 or 3 days. And after that, only to take it in the morning, and she took a glass and she brought some in the glass and told her she was going to give her so much. But ordinarily, she shouldn't take but a wine glass full, and she took it. A wine
Did
glass.
you see
and that
how
was
much?
one word, wine glass full.
Oh,
sorry.
I'm not going to say what I wanted to say. Anyway,
it wasn't a mega pint.
No. Did you see how much she gave?
I should say it was a third of a glass full.
An ordinary tumbler?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. I feel like this is just like a long nursery rhyme. Did you see Miss Toppan pour this Hunadi out into the glass?
I do not think I did. I think she had the bottle, but I do not think she turned it out. She went out of the room to get a corkscrew.
And came back with a bottle and a glass and poured it out?
I am under the impression she did. I sat there reading.
Whether or not you saw Miss Gibbs take it?
I saw her take it.
How much did she take?
She took the whole of it. She said it was nothing in the world but Epsom salts.
She's doing bath salts back then too. Jeez. All right then. Who said that?
Mrs. Gibbs.
Did you see the defendant, Miss Toppan, give Miss Gibbs anything else that afternoon?
Not in the afternoon, in the evening.
Well, what time?
Oh, sometime after 7.
And what was that, if you know?
Cocoa wine?
Chocolate wine?
I don't know.
Chocolate wine? All right. Was anything said that accounted for her giving that?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
After supper, Mrs. Gibbs was lying down upstairs, and I went up there, and she said she felt perfectly awful ever since she drank the Hunyadi water. And she asked me if I would go downstairs and ask Mr. Dunham to go and get some water because there was not any in the house. Oh, this is Mr. Bixby.
Who was this talk with?
Mrs. Gibbs.
Was the defendant there?
No, sir.
Object.
The defendant was not there.
It was,
That's the judge, Flash fan.
yeah. It was. It was not made to a physician.
Would it not be compete? It's happening, AJ.
Competent.
Competent under the statute of 98, Your Honors.
That'd be 1898. Not that I was there, Flash fan.
Do you want to apply that to a criminal trial?
I'll take Your Honor's ruling.
I think for the present we will exclude it.
Did the defendant go upstairs where Miss Gibbs was?
What do you mean? At that time?
You said Miss Gibbs said something which he cannot admit as evidence, and then you came downstairs.
Why was he even allowed to say that?
I don't know. 1901.
I guess.
Cases were different back then.
Oh, yes, they were. I came downstairs to see about getting.
Oh, hello, Adair.
Oh, hey, Adair. Hey, don't be texting and driving, Adair. We want you to arrive alive. Thanks for saying hello.
Wait a minute. You came downstairs?
Yes, sir. Miss Toppan was downstairs.
Did you say anything to Miss Toppan?
Yes, sir.
What did you say to her?
I told her Minnie, which Minnie, they're going to clarify this later, but it's much later. Minnie is Mrs. Gibbs. That was her nickname. So just for clarification. I told her Minnie said she felt perfectly awful ever since she drank that Hunyadi water. And Jenny said, take the cocoa wine and put some ice in it, and that would do till she gets the water. And I took the cocoa wine and I took it upstairs and she would not take it. And she said she would not take it, but she did afterwards. I said, Minnie won't drink it. So Miss Toppan came upstairs and said, Minnie won't drink it. And she said, well, I don't blame her.
How long after that you went upstairs?
15 minutes. She drank it with ice in it.
And that was given and that was given to you by whom?
Miss Toppan.
Dun dun dun.
Oops, forgot to scroll up.
Beep.
Yes.
This was after supper.
Yes, sir.
Before supper, and in the presence of Miss Toppan, did you hear Miss Gibbs say anything about her condition after taking the Hunyadi water?
She complained of being awful hot, as if she was burning up.
When was that?
Just at supper time. I can't tell just the time.
She can't tell the time at all, apparently.
She doesn't, or distance.
How many paces was it?
I don't know.
Was Miss Toppan there?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what they had for supper that night?
Like this matters. I do not remember what the rest of us had, but I am sure Mrs. Gibbs only had a small piece of toast and drank a little cocoa.
Did she take anything that you saw after supper in the way of food or drink except the cocoa wine?
Except the cocoa wine, that is all.
That became Miss Toppan after she gave the wine to Miss Gibbs?
She stayed in there with Mrs. Gibbs till Mr. Gordon returned. He had been out on an errand, and then she went to bed about 8 o'clock.
Where were you in the room then?
I wasn't in the room then. I was in the other room with the children.
My Lord, how'd you even see any of this then?
I don't know.
Did you hear any conversation?
No, sir.
She stayed in there until Miss Gordon returned?
She stayed there. I was out in the other room.
And then you say she went to bed?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Miss Gibbs after that? Sorry, that totally messed me up. after Miss Toppan went out?
I glanced in the room when I went to bed, and she was apparently almost asleep. Although she opened her eyes, I do not think she recognized me.
What time in the evening was that?
About 9 o'clock.
Was anyone with her?
Mr. Gordon.
Mr. Harry Gordon?
Yes, sir.
In what room was this?
In the front room, the sitting room.
Upstairs or downstairs?
Downstairs on the first floor.
Did you say she was lying down?
Yes, sir.
On what? On none of your damn business.
On a couch, on a sort of old-fashioned sofa, which is odd to say from an old-fashioned time.
I know.
We call you old-fashioned.
Well, what did they call old-fashioned?
She's like 1796.
Oh man.
Didn't was the futons.
Futon's not old. Well, it's not 1900s old. Where was Mr. Gordon?
He was sitting there in a chair beside her.
You went to bed at 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Miss Toppan again after that night?
Oh, and there is 2 that's on the on the transcript. I don't know. I did about 12:30. She came in the room where I was sleeping.
She have any conversation with you?
She told me they had not gone to bed. She wanted to know what was the matter with them and asked me if I wouldn't go and get into the bed in the next room to her. What?
Seemed like she wanted to get into bed with her.
And
there were
one of those situations.
Yes.
Okay. And where were you at the time?
Off in the annex to the house before that. In another room.
Don't ask me how long it took me to get there. Did she say why she wanted you to sleep in the room next to her?
No, sir.
Where was the room with reference to the room where the reference of the reference of the reference of the room to where the annex to the reference of the room of Miss Gibbs was?
It was on the left-hand side coming from the music room. The room that she wanted me to sleep in came off here.
Did you go into the other room?
Yes, sir.
Was that all that took place at the time, 12:30?
Yes, sir. I went to bed.
I suppose you went to sleep again?
Yes, sir.
How did you see Miss Toppan again that night, if you were asleep?
About 2 o'clock.
What took place then?
She came and told me that they had not gone to bed yet and wanted me to get up and help her, that Minnie must go to bed, and she gave me a skirt. And I got up and I went into the sitting room, and Minnie was sitting on the couch. Mr. Gordon was kind of holding her up, and she seemed to be what I called asleep then.
And Mr. Gordon was there, you say?
Yes, sir. Hang on. I lost my cursor.
Hey, Momo
Shark. Long time no see. I hope you are doing well. That 2025 is treating you great so far.
Not enough fried chicken in 2025 yet.
Not yet.
Flash fans just dreaming about it.
I can't eat it. That's why I want some.
Was he dressed in his day clothes or night clothes?
They had not been to bed at all, neither of them. That didn't answer
Tell
the
us.
question.
It did not, and I'm sure he's going to ask again. Tell us what took place after that.
They tried to arouse her, and she did not seem to arouse. She would say, "Oh, Harry, oh, yes." And they would ask her if she could not get up, and she would say yes, but did not seem to have any power to get up. And Miss Toppan said she would have to go to bed, and Mr. Gordon took her up in his arms and carried her into the next room and put her on the bed.
What took place after that?
We did not get her undressed, but her feet were just like ice. We got her shoes and stockings off and rolled her feet up in a blanket, and Miss Toppan gave her some whiskey.
Did Miss Toppan say anything during any of this time?
She spoke about her not going to bed, thought she should have gone to bed before she got chilled.
Anything else?
Not that I recall at that time, no, sir.
Tell us after that what took place.
A little while afterwards, she said if she did not get any better, she was going to have Mr. Gordon call Dr. Ladder. So she sent Mr. Gordon to call Dr. Ladder, and he came. I do not know just what time it was, but it was just about the break of day. It was getting light enough to see when he got there.
That was Dr. Ladder?
Yes. He said that all she needed was rest and she would be all right. Wrong.
Did you... False. Yeet. No, I'm just kidding. Did you hear any talk between Miss Toppan and Dr. Ladder?
Uh-oh. Well, she went off in another room and talked with him.
Of course she did. Did you not hear what she said?
No, sir.
You're useless.
I know.
Did you hear her say anything to him while he was there?
Nothing particular, except that she thought she had been working too much over things and looking over papers, etc., since her father had died, going through the papers.
Did the doctor stay there?
No, sir. He stayed a little while, and then he said that she must be perfectly quiet and that we must all leave the room. I went back to bed, and Mr. Gordon went back to bed, and we left Miss Toppan and Mrs. Gibbs together.
What was the next you know about the matter?
She called me in the room just a moment before I went down to breakfast, and she seemed to be sleeping then all right.
What time was that?
I think about
I was going to
half
say
past. I know, because it doesn't make sense. I think about 7:30, and then I went down to breakfast, and she went upstairs before we did. I was sitting down talking to Mr. Gordon.
Did Miss Toppan go to breakfast with you?
Yes.
When you say she went upstairs before you, did you mean Miss Toppan?
Yes. The dining room was in the basement, and she went back up into the bedroom. I stayed in the dining room talking to Mr. Gordon, and she called me and asked me to come into the room quick. And I went in there, and she said that she was afraid that Minnie was going just like the rest, and asked me if I would stay until she got some whiskey. And she said that she must send Harry for Dr. Ladder, and told him to go as quick as he could and to tell him that Minnie was in utter collapse and that he would know what that meant, and to ask what she should do for her. I stayed there until she went and got some whiskey for her, and she gave her a rectum injection.
Oh, wow.
I knew all this was in here, and I was like, haha, AJ has to say this, and she has to say that, and then she has to say this.
I will just say this. If you have to save me by doing that, just let me go to the great beyond. I won't be mad. Because I don't like whiskey. And if I woke up with a hangover from whiskey, no thanks. Just let me go. It'll be all right.
Just give me a rectal injection.
I do not want a rectum injection.
That was all?
I should hope so.
I know,
Then
right?
Mr. Borden came back and we asked him if he got the doctor. And he said he was coming up on the train. And she asked him if he said anything for us to do. And he said no, that he did not tell him anything to do. I said he could come quicker than to wait for the train because that would not come for an hour. And then he went back to the telephone and he said the doctor was coming in a carriage. And while we were waiting for the doctor, Miss Toppan looked at Miss Gibbs' eyes and shook her head. I asked her what was the trouble, and she said they were set.
Whether you saw her look at her eyes eyes more than once or not.
I did after that, yes.
How long after?
I do not know how long. He should know she knows no time. Later in the afternoon.
Most ridiculous question to ask this woman. She doesn't know. Lord. How many times in a day did you see her examine the eyes?
2 or 3 different times.
By examining the eyes, what do you mean?
Raising the lids and looking at them.
Zach.
I'll say what? Hey, it's the talk of rectal nonsense nation.
Yeah, you're late to the game. You missed AJ having to say douche bucket.
And a forehead.
Yeah, I can say you missed a forehead about 2,000 times.
Yes. Good to see you, Zach.
Yeah, good to see you. No one's told me to shut up lately.
I know, and she hasn't.
And I haven't.
That's right. That's okay. We like you that way.
Dr. Ladder came?
Yes.
About 9 o'clock?
Yes.
Yes. Before that, did you see Miss Toppan prepare the injection that she gave Miss Gibbs in the rectum?
Uh-huh. The first one I think she brought in this douche pail.
There you go. Oh, I'll have to re-listen later. Zach said.
See you, Zach.
Oh, man. Oh, wait, am I at the top?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the second one?
I have the impression she brought the next one in a glass and turned it into this pail.
Oh, whoa.
Don't put it in the douche pail.
All right. Oh, my God. Did you not see her prepare it?
No, sir.
Who wants to see that?
Not me.
Dr. Ladder got there about what time? She doesn't know.
Like, Dr. Ladder got there later. Later. Just about 9 o'clock. She did know. Look at that.
Oh, good for her. What took place after he got there this time?
They gave her a hypodermic injection.
By them, you mean whom?
Well, thanks for the grammar correction. Dr. Ladder and Miss Toppan prepared it together.
Did you hear any talk between them at all at that time?
I did not hear what they said, no, sir.
Tell us all that the doctor did and that the defendant did with him.
They prepared the hypodermic injection, and then they gave it to her, and he stayed there all the rest of the day. Mr. Swift, that was Tuesday morning. Oops, sorry.
Thank you. Keep going. Mr. Swift. Okay, keep going. Now it's your turn.
Sorry.
That was perfect. Good thing you made them colored, the names colored, because it really helps. Because I've done it too.
It really helped me there.
Yeah. Hey, Dill.
I kind of wish the transcript I had name covered, but I was like, that's a lot. To read like every line, because if you don't, you'll miss somebody different saying something.
Yes. What's up, Dill? We were just talking about rectum injections.
Yeah, and douche
Sure,
pails.
something you don't do on a daily basis in your job. Is it me? From 9 o'clock until she died, he stayed all but an hour in the afternoon.
Coming back a little bit, so as to keep events in their order. When you were summoned from the breakfast table and did she say anything else at that time?
Oops, I can't scroll because I'm in the wrong screen. She said she was all right when she came into the room, and she walked around the other side to tuck her in, and she noticed a sudden change come over her.
Tell us her appearance at that time.
Okay. She looked just as though she was dead. Looked as though she would die before Miss Toppan got back into the room.
Whether you recall anything else Miss Toppan said at the time?
Hi, Alex Jones. Shut up, Gabby. What up, Flashman and Kelly? Catch y'all later.
Anything for my hungry gal.
I do not remember anything now.
Do you recollect her saying something like this? How can she blame me?
Not at that time, I don't, but she said they would blame her. She seemed to blame herself for not making Mrs. Gibbs go to bed. She got chilled staying up.
When was that?
I'm sure that's what did it. Several different times.
You did hear her say something like that?
At several different times, yes.
Do you recall exactly what she said?
How can they blame me? I could not make anybody go to bed in their own house if they wouldn't.
Did you see the defendant do anything else for Miss Gibbs after the doctor came there?
Except they gave her 2 or 3 hypodermic injections, and she helped prepare them.
Do you know what those were?
No, sir, I do not. Oh, no.
Anything done about that urine?
They were going to draw the urine, not drink it.
Well, at least they weren't gonna drink it. Who said that? I hope everyone said they weren't gonna.
Miss Toppan, and I went out of the room.
Did you not see it?
I did not see her draw it, no, sir. Afterwards, I saw them prepare it and put it in a bottle, and I saw her give it to Dr. Ladder, and she asked him to be sure it was marked so there would be no mistake, as she did not want any mistake in it.
Did you hear her say anything about sending it to anybody for analysis?
It was to go to Professor Wood.
Now, if you can tell us what took place after that time we have just been talking about.
Do you mean Miss Gibbs?
In regards to Miss Gibbs.
Mrs. Gibbs never moved after I saw her at 9 o'clock. She never changed or moved in any way at all.
Did you see her again during that day at various times?
We were in and out of the room all day.
Where was the defendant?
She was there just the same as the rest of us. We were in the room most of the time.
Who had charge of Miss Gibbs during this time?
Miss Toppan, and along the afternoon, I could not say what time it was, somewhere between 1 and 2, I should think, Dr. Ladder was sitting there, and she came in and asked him if he would have any objections to having another doctor called. She did not know as it would do any good, but it might be some satisfaction to the family. They sent some boys over to North Falmouth to see if they could get a doctor. He was out sailing back and would be back in an hour, and they would send him as soon as he came. He came up on that next train that came about 2:22 from West Falmouth.
Who was that doctor?
I think his name was Dr. Hudnut.
Doctor who?
Doctor, of course it was. Of course that was his name. Yep, of course. Why not?
All right.
From what place was he summoned? I
Well,
don't even want to know.
It would only be from North Falmouth.
Well, after he arrived, what took place?
He asked what had been done, and Dr. Ladder told him what he had done. And he suggested that with their permission, he would give so many grains of something else. And they said that it was all right. He prepared the hypodermic injection and gave it. He arranged a mustard poultice? I don't know what that is. I went downstairs. I had to go to the store to get more mustard. And I had to go down and get a spoon and water. So I do not know all that happened while he was there.
When did Miss Wood come there?
She was there.
Stopping at the house?
Well, when you put it that way, she came about 9 o'clock in the morning.
Did Mr. Hood do do anything else? I hope not. Jesus.
He put this poultice on her chest, and then they had
what on her chest?
I don't know what it is. And then
Bread
they had
mustard?
some of the urine that was saved, and he wanted to test that, and he took a lamp and a spoon.
Watch fan, you're up.
What the defendant did all this time?
Yes, I think she tested it. I think that's what that should, or he tested it. Sorry.
That was Dr. Hudnut?
Yes, and Dr. Ladder together. That was all I remember. I was sitting outside then.
Do you recall how long he stayed?
He stayed long enough to lose the train to Boston.
Oh, dang, you have to wait now. What time would that be?
It is due sometime about 3 o'clock, maybe 3:30. Dr. Ladder took him over to Megansett and got back just after Mrs. Gibbs died. When the doctor went out the door, he said she was practically death-struck then.
Who said that?
Dr. Hudnut.
Miss Toppan was there? Or was Miss Toppan there?
Yes.
Did she say anything at the time?
She said it was a very imperfect test of the urine, that she had seen it tried before.
Did she say anything else?
I don't know, not weird enough.
I know, right?
I do not recollect anything. She said that the pole thingy put on would not cover the skin, that a person must be pretty nearly gone. What the heck is that? A mustard poultice.
We'll have to look it up. Do you remember anything else she
Yes.
said at the time?
I do not recollect it, no.
Was anything said about putting something on the tongue?
Not at that time. It was afterwards. She said she thought they could put something.
Was that before she died?
I do not know if it was, but it was along in the afternoon.
Before Miss Gibbs died?
That says hours.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
It said HRS. I know that was my fault. You got it right.
What was that?
She said they could put something on the tongue that would arouse the brain, and that then she would have violent convulsions. No.
Well, that sounds horrible. Did she say that could be put on?
No, sir.
Was anything put on?
No, sir. At least she didn't rouse anyway. There's no rousing in here.
As far as you know, there wasn't. Were you there when Miss Gibbs passed away?
Yes, sir.
What time was that at?
Just about 4:00.
4:00 Tuesday afternoon, August 13th. Where were you?
Yes, sir. I was in that room, the other room on the annex.
Adjacent to the music room
Aforesaid.
in the basement? Was that done as soon as she died?
Mr. Gordon and I went over to the station. He had to telephone for Mr. Davis, an undertaker, and he sent off some telegrams, and I stayed over at the station until the train came in, and Mr. Davis came home on the train.
And then Lassie came over and said, Timmy fell in the well again. And what would be about and that would be about how long?
I think it was somewheres around 4:30 or a little after the train was due there.
And who was in charge of affairs at the house where you went?
Carmen. She appears.
Carmen, you missed your mom saying douche pail.
And rectum injection.
Can't forget that one.
Miss Toppan, Miss Eleanor Gibbs was there, and Mrs. Wood.
Miss Toppan, Miss Eleanor Gibbs, and Miss Wood?
Yes, sir. I think Mr. Durham was there, not in the house. I'm in the wrong thing. The ladies were in the house.
Did anyone particularly charge?
Yeah, that's a weird sentence.
Maybe it meant change.
It says, did anyone have particular charge? I think they were asking, like, who
had charge? Who was in charge?
Yeah. But yes, my spell check hates it.
Yeah, it's probably saying like who was in control of her or who.
Yeah.
Yeah, my computer, I'm surprised it didn't start smoking because it was like all this stuff I want to correct and you won't let me. Oh, we all assumed that Miss Toppan had charge. I don't know, as there was any of the family. They were all dead then.
Well then.
They weren't in charge then, were they? Because they were dead.
I guess so.
Jeez.
I went to take you back a little bit, Miss Jacobs, to the evening before. Do you recall Miss Toppan saying anything to Mr. Harry Gordon and Miss Gibbs than you have now stated? That you now have stated? This is very strange.
I know. When she went to bed, she said that they might talk over all they had to say. Okay. And for Mrs. Gibbs to come to bed early. They were going to Barnstable the following morning, and Mr. Gordon had been up to make arrangements about it.
After the undertaker and you had gotten back to the house, what took place then that you know about?
Then she sent me over to Mrs. Gibbs to get some clothes that they needed for Mrs. Gibbs. So I went over to the other cottage.
Well, let us see. There were 2 cottages there that this family had?
Mrs. Gibbs lived on one side of the track, and her father and mother lived in the Jacqueline, whatever.
Jacqueline.
On the other side, bless you. On the other side. But they all died at the Jacqueline.
This all took place at the Hakeem?
Yes, sir.
And yes, bye, Carmen. Go follow the doctor's orders. And hold on. And that is in the town of, what is this now? Katsumet? I don't even know.
That's probably close, yes.
I'll
take your word. You live there.
She actually doesn't know Massachusetts town.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
There's so many weird words in this, like Hunati water and,
I know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, trial transcripts from 1990s aren't much better.
Oh,
yeah. Do you know whether that is in the town of Bourne or not? The township of Bourne?
It is part of Bourne, I think.
Did you hear any talk between Miss Toppan and the undertaker at the house?
No, sir.
Did you see what was done as to the embalming, for instance?
I didn't see Mrs. Gibbs' body again until they laid her out.
Well,
Okay, then.
did you hear the defendant say anything after Miss Gibbs' death as to the cause of the death?
Except that it was exhaustion and that she must have been weaker than we realized.
When was Miss Gibbs buried?
On Thursday afternoon.
And how long did you stay there, Miss Jacobs?
Until the 20th of August.
That was the following Monday?
The following Tuesday.
How long did the defendant stay there, if you know?
Until the 19th.
She went before you did?
Yes, sir.
The day before?
Yes, sir.
Did you any talk or anything or any talk with the defendant with regard to an autopsy on Miss Gibbs?
I didn't know, sir.
Did you hear anything?
I heard Captain Paul ask whether there had been one.
Who the heck is Captain Paul?
Where he comes from?
Who is Captain Paul?
I don't know.
Plot twist. Enters
Some,
Captain Paul.
Some what's that book? I don't know, but Long John Silver type stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, was he there?
Yes, sir. He had asked whether there had been one. She said there were no suspicious circumstances. There was no reason why there should have been. And if it were necessary, Dr. Latter would have ordered one. She said there was no vomiting and there were no convulsions. I am getting the feeling Dr. Latter might have been involved.
Maybe.
He sure took her word.
That was in answer to something that Captain Paul asked.
He asked why they hadn't had one, and she said there was no suspicious circumstances.
Was anything said about blood poisoning?
One time she said that they couldn't, if they injected too much, that she would have blood poisoning. Talking about hypodermics, they would have to be very careful what they did.
This is after her death?
No, sir, before.
Do you remember any more of that conversation?
Sorry.
Yeah, I see it.
I say, Beulah, prepare their rectal injection. I got a hankering.
I do declare.
And Jack, don't ask us why these people have Southern accents, because it's in Massachusetts.
They're technically not even supposed to have Southern accent.
Yeah, don't ask us. We just made it up. It just sounded right for the way it's worded, I guess.
Yes. Is it me?
Yeah, I think so.
I do not recall it now.
Miss Gibbs' name was Mary D.
Yes, sir.
She was sometimes called Minnie.
Most always. I'm in the wrong.
And why was that?
I don't know, except that her mother's name was Mary, and it was to distinguish the two, so she did know.
They should have perhaps clarified that 35 minutes ago.
I know, right?
I mean, I did it for them. I like it. I love it. Take your swing. Take your swing.
It's like when a dare came in the other day, and he's like, so basically she just poisoned the person, right?
She died. Yes.
Did you hear any, hold on.
Mississippiana accent. He's read a couple times. There's not really any lines other than Beulah and Mr. Swift.
Did you hear any other conversation in the presence of Miss Toppan after the death as to the cause of her death, of the death?
Well, it was talked over several different times.
Did in her presence that she was said, if you could tell us?
Well, Dr. Latter always said that there wasn't anything suspicious in connection with any of the deaths, that Miss Davis died of diabetes, and that Miss Gordon died of heart failure.
Diabetes.
said that she always had what he had called a fatty heart, and that Mr. Davis had a very severe attack of something, apoplexy. I don't know.
Diabetes.
But that he couldn't account for Mrs. Gibbs. I don't know.
You will have to talk a little louder, Miss Jacobs.
He said Mr. Davis had a severe attack of something, but Mrs. Gibb he couldn't account for. And the only thing he could see in her case was that if there was such a thing, she died of a broken heart.
Did you hear Miss Toppan say anything about that?
She said people didn't die from broken hearts.
Anything else?
Nothing special that I recall, except it was talked over.
Did she assign any cause for it for herself?
No, except that she had overdone exhaustion.
Do you know the circumstances of Miss Toppan's going? How she happened to leave?
Going home?
Yes.
I suppose she planned to go home. No kidding.
Was it adjacent to the annex room, or was it in the attic adjacent to the basement?
Yes.
Anything that was said in her presence?
About her going home?
Yes.
No, sir.
Flash fan, you're up.
The final line here says, may it please, now he said something that has me weirded out, or not weirded out, but confused. May it please your honor, I think that in view of the nature of the defense, what will be offered later, which perhaps has been offered somewhat to outline somewhat by the learned attorney general, that there will be no necessity of cross-examining this witness or perhaps any of the witnesses offered by the Commonwealth. So they basically saying that they're not going to cross-examine nobody?
Correct.
Okay, that might be a stupid decision, but yeah.
But they do, because we saw it. We got through that fast.
Yeah.
Look at us. All right.
And Haley's like, damn it, I missed it.
Sorry, Haley. Sorry, Haley. I changed the time because I wasn't going to compete with the festivities of the day today because I would not win. But yeah, good for us. Look at that. I was scared that we'd be on here for like 2 hours. We did well. Just over an hour. Good. That gives me hope that we will get this finished.
Yeah.
It's not 26 weeks worth of testimony, so that
no.
Helps.
Well, it goes pretty fast when it's just like the lawyer and one witness, talking back and forth.
Yeah, that's why I figured, even though I'm like, I know I sent 60 pages, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Carm just texted me and said, it's even funnier when you close your eyes and listen.
Nice. Hello, Your Royal Highness.
I couldn't keep up a British accent that long. I'm gonna have to have Haley on here to do it. And George.
I can't do it. I can't do accents.
You got a Mississippiana.
I don't even know what that's about. Somebody said that, like, oh, AJ has an accent. She's from Indiana. I'm like, an accent? I was like, I don't know the accent, but maybe. I don't know.
I think I told the story. I was in I was out in California visiting my parents when they lived out there, and we went down to Laguna Beach. So I was walking, going in the little boutiques there of things I couldn't afford, and looking. So one of the salespeople, he started talking to me, and he's like, "Where are you? Are you from the South?" And I said, "I'm from Indiana," and he said, "That's not South." I was like, "Well, don't tell them that." I don't know. I remember when I moved here, people here thought that I talked funny, and then when I went back to Nebraska to visit, they thought I talked funny. So now I'm like, okay, I just know that I have a weird. And then I had one lady ask me if I was from the Pacific Northwest, and never been there. She said that was the kind of accent that I have. And then the naughty wine was the best.
She had the Massachusetts accent.
And then I think Carmen has had people ask her if I'm from another country. Like,
What?
So I don't know what I do.
Yeah, that one's weird, from another country.
I mean, I've heard the Indiana accent before, briefly, when the judge was going to allow she had like 2-minute hearing. Sounded like she had an accent, but I was like, that can't work. Isn't that Indiana?
So when we moved here, I could hear it, and there are words here that they say that I don't say like them. Like they would say, like, "Are you code?" I'm like, "No, there's an L there. I'm not cold." Or
Code?
like, go throw it in the hoe. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that either. That would be mean. And Ewans. What are Ewans doing? I'm like, what is a Ewan? And
what's it? These Utes? What's a Ute?
Yeah, like, what's a Ute?
I don't know what that means.
And also,
looks like Gabby. I know something. Well, she like, well, people don't understand when I say this in Massachusetts language or whatever. She'll say, I'm like, oh, I can probably tell what that one is. But then she'll say something like, no. I understand how people don't understand that one, because I don't know what you're trying to say with that one.
Yeah, there's sometimes I can generally figure out what Gabby is saying now.
Most of it is just swears. So,
well, you say wicked.
Yeah,
it was wicked. Whatever you say after that. I'm trying to think. There's one other one that you say. When you say it, I have to think for just a second. I'm like, okay, I got it. Because it's not your dialect, it's just the term that you guys use there. And people out here, Midwest Ohio, say whatnot. That's right. At least you're not from DC, but sound like you're from the South, AJ.
Apparently, we get that a lot, because my aunt had been saying, she said, like, I've been hearing that for years. I'm like, for real? Huh.
Beep, 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 beep.
I was like, the furthest south I am is Southeast DC.
Well, I don't know. And here in Nebraska, we went sledding on a toboggan. And if you had a toboggan to go sledding on, you were lucky. I only went sledding on a toboggan once. And it was nice. It was a big, long wooden sled, and it was padded. I had plastic sleds.
I had the top of a trash can lid.
See, you and I, we sled the same. But here, a toboggan is a hat.
Or sometimes a cardboard box worked pretty good for a couple of runs.
I had an either orange or blue plastic sled, and then you would sled in them until it would get a hole in the bottom, and then it wouldn't go. So that was the end of that. 1 or 2 seasons, and it was gone. But yeah, the first time somebody told me to get the toboggan, I was like looking around for a toboggan, not a toboggan. Like, that's a hat.
Differences.
Yeah, it's funny. But so Flash fan, I'm with you on the accent. I don't know where mine comes from. It's like it's a mutt. It's a mixture of
I
lots
will
of things.
say that I don't think Florida is south, but I mean, look at James Owens. He had an accent, so
Yeah. I don't know. It is just us.
Yeah.
I can't help it. Let me see what's going on. So Wednesday, we will continue on with the testimony. I think we get Mr. Gibbs, who's the husband of the deceased Mrs. Gibbs, Minnie, Mary, whatever you want to call her. We get, I believe, Dr. Hudnut, which makes me laugh that you guys laughed at that so hard because at one point in time, Indiana, I think, had a governor whose last name was Hudnut or
wow.
mayor. Maybe he was mayor of Indianapolis.
Mayor Hoodnut.
Mayor Hudnut. I think he was the mayor maybe when we moved here. I'm not sure. I don't live in Indianapolis, so it didn't matter to me. But it's like, whatever. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
so when you guys laughed at it, I was like, oh, well. we He ran the city. Let's see what's happening. So that will be Wednesday. We will continue on with the testimony. And there's more witnesses Wednesday. She was a long witness, and I don't know why.
I can say,
Because
why
she
did they
did
even
not
call her, to
say
be
a lot.
honest?
Yeah, to be honest with you, she didn't really know much.
She did not. She was just
I
kind of
felt
like,
the defense wanted to cross-examine that. That'd be easy cross-examine. You didn't know anything, did you?
Yeah, right? Right? We could have summed this up in like 2 seconds.
like, were you in the room? No. Where were you? I was in the room next to the room in the annex in the building next door, across the street, down and over the tracks.
In the second cottage.
Yes. You mean the building where everyone died? Yeah, that one.
So you didn't see anything then, huh? No.
No. Who was
but
in
I
charge?
did see this.
Yes, but I heard this. Also, who was in charge? Well, it had to be Miss Toppan because everyone else was dead.
I did see them. give them a rectum shot.
If this would have been testimony, there would be so many objections and motions to strike.
Oh, absolutely.
So funny though.
I'm trying to make sure that people are really live. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Last time.
Oh yeah, because people were like, nope.
I sent you guys somewhere and there wasn't. See, she's not live. Live. Hang on. I'm trying to figure out. Send you on a trip. I thought
different country.
Squid. I thought Squid was going live, but that only lasted 15 minutes. I wonder what happened.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah.
I think she was doing like an all-day walk. Maybe it didn't.
I hope I don't know what she was streaming from, but I hope the news didn't get her.
I'll send her a message. See what I'll watch, and then if it cuts off abruptly, I'll send her a message. Like,
I'm tired.
I would even get a good night's sleep last night. Saturday night, when I first started feeling bad, it was I did not have a good night Saturday night.
Ada and Baker are both live.
Baker's live? It doesn't show that on mine.
I know he did a call-in show right before you had started.
Yeah.
I was so before.
He doesn't say live on mine.
Yeah, he's not live right now.
Ada is.
Yeah, they doing that suitcase trial, which I think that jury is sequestered because they had a trial stream for that on Saturday.
It looks like he's alive, but it's not. He's not.
Okay. Huh. Well.
Go away, redirect to one of the news stations or something.
No.
No.
Nah, after they decided, like, no, we're going to destroy you.
Yeah.
The video from 1994.
They can do.
They can kick rocks.
Yes.
They got enough people in there.
Yeah, like go suck an egg or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Haley. I get confused with that too because when you go to like your subscriptions list and it pops up a video, it looks like it's live because some people put like the live symbol on their thumbnail, so it looks like they're live, but then when you click it, it's not.
And mine do that sometimes too. When you go into the YouTube app, I don't either close it out, it still be open from earlier, or I don't go to another screen. It's like live, and that person was live like 3 hours ago. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't update. All right, now
Yeah.
it's not even letting me choose. So, all right, I'm not sending you anywhere. You guys have to find your
Alright.
own way.
You have to find your
So-
own way.
Go your own way, like the song says. We will be back at normal time on Wednesday. I apologize for the short notice of the time change today again, but we will be back at noon Eastern time on Wednesday to continue this trial. We will have Kelly joining us too, and who knows what's going to happen? I have no idea. There may be more injections in the things and tails, and I don't know. We got to get to the rubber sheet sometime.
Yeah, what's up with the rubber sheet?
We got to get there.
Okay.
We got to get to them.
And who the heck is Captain whatever his name is? He just popped
I
right in
don't-
there, didn't he?
I don't know where he came from.
I was like, was he there the whole time and she just forgot to mention that he was there?
Yeah, because he said, "Was he there?" Yep. Like, was he in another room? Just ask her that. Ask
Yeah,
her how
right.
long he traveled to get there. She won't know. It just like the woman knows nothing.
I know.
And then she will know everything. It's very strange. I will just recap. If you guys did not hear and you're wondering where Carmen has been, I told you at the beginning of the stream. So if you want to go back and hear that, it will tell you where she's been, and she'll be back when she gets all cleared to come back. So, but yes, we will see you Wednesday at noon Eastern time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm. If you're warm, lucky you. If you're in the Houston area, Carmen, everybody, I know you're not going to get, 1 to 7 inches is what she told me today. So
That's snow.
that's a lot of snow for Houston. Be careful. Be safe out there. And I don't know. Anybody else got anything?
See you later, Cub Scouts.
Don't let the tarantulas bite.
Yeah, right.
There you go. And don't fry them up and eat them either.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys all later.